On this episode of the People of Pearland podcast, we interview Officer Meredith Jaso.
What if you ever pulled me over?
I don't think so, but maybe, because I was busy.
Let's cut that part out.
I stayed busy.
Stay tuned for more.
And I'm rolling here.
Rolling.
What?
Literally, Jasmine, just like every 3 minutes or so, just tap the screen and make sure like it's staying awake. That's probably what it is. Okay.
You rolling?
Okay, cool. Sweet.
You gonna...
Oh, yeah. And
woo! All right.
All right.
So welcome everybody to the People of Pearland podcast. Episode
1.
Episode pun.
Episode 1.
It's the first episode of our People of Pearland podcast, where we're going to meet the people who make Pearland the community that it is.
Nice. Yeah.
Right?
So for the first episode, we have Officer Meredith Jaso. She is our PIO. Tell us what you do here at the city.
I am the public information officer, so it's my job to handle all the media relations with the media, and all social media accounts. So I handle our Facebook page, our Twitter page, create content, and make sure that we stay on the page.
So many
on top of things.
Acronyms: the PPD, PIO,
right?
OFC.
Did you ask me what those acronyms are?
Yeah. What are those acronyms? So.
PPD is the Pearland Police Department. Did I say PPD?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Actually, you didn't say
words.
You didn't say Pearland Police Department at all.
PPD is the Pearland Police Department, and then the PIO is the Public Information Officer. It's way easier to say PIO than to say Public Information.
That was one of the first like abbreviations that I heard when I got here that I was like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
Like this is all new to me. So yeah, that was
well, and acronyms, generally speaking, as we all know, being in the communication space, are a detriment to the work that we do, but they're pervasive, right? In all of our work.
But sometimes I even have to look at them and think for a little while, like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
It reminds you that you're human.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So as a public information officer, do you have to be a cop first, or like how did that, what was the...
So far, that's the way that our department is going.
Gotcha.
I think some people aren't police officers, but we've used police officers because that's just the image that we want to uphold.
Right. Yeah. Subject matter experts too, right? You know.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been there 20 years, so I've been in a lot of different divisions in the last 20 years. So this was just upward movement for me, learning something new.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what was attractive to you about the public information officer position within the police department?
What was attractive to me? I just felt like it was a position that I could advance.
And for everybody listening or watching this podcast, if the video portion becomes a thing, the public information officer role in our police department is very important, a very important part of what we do from a communications perspective,
right?
And one of many PIOs within the organization. So I'm one of the public information officers. Joe is as well, and other people on the team. We all come together on all sorts of emergency, non-emergency things, and then take different roles depending on what kind of situation we're facing.
Right.
So exactly.
If it's a police type situation, you certainly don't want me on camera. You want a badge and a gun and somebody who knows what they're doing. And like Joe said, subject matter expert, right? So good for crime tips and press releases when it comes to
exactly all
police
of that
type things.
So give me a little timeline of how long, what got you to this point, right? Like what did you do, Yeah,
you've been with the PD for
20 years
and
now.
you're talking Pearland PD for 20 years?
PD. This is the only department that I've worked for. I started with Pearland PD just out of the academy. I just turned 24 years old. So looking back, I was really young.
Right.
Because that was 20 years ago.
Right.
I'm going to do the math. But at 20 years, I started, 20 years ago, I started as an officer, and I was an officer for about 4 years.
Just regular patrol?
Just regular patrol, learning the street, learning my community, learning people,
right?
Their movements. You learn a lot in patrol.
Really?
It's really the backbone of law enforcement. From patrol, I was asked to be part of a narcotics unit. So I worked narcotics for about 3.5 years. after narcotics. That was great. It was fun. At the time, I was single, I didn't have kids, and it was fun to work narcotics. Everything is kind of fly by the seat of your pants. Like, you don't know where you'll end up at the end of the day, depending on where your workload takes you. But to get something a little more stable, once I wanted to start having children, I started working crimes against children. So I worked crimes against children for 9 years. I was part of different projects. One of the biggest ones was I was part of the Houston Metro Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. So I chatted as an online chatter. So I posed as anywhere from 10 to 16 years old.
Yeah.
But usually 10 to 15 years old.
That's going to be a tough job.
Right. So we made a lot of good cases. And I'm really proud of the work that I did while I worked crimes against children.
Sure.
I feel like I was really making a difference in that I was meant to be there. Without getting too spiritual, I feel like that's where God put me to help people at that time.
Right.
From that, I did really well in that position. I just felt like each time you take a new position, there's just room for growth and professional growth. Yep. So the next position I went into, I worked internal affairs. So I was there for 3 years. And then when this position came along and I was approached with it, I thought, you know what, I think that would be a good position for me. I think that I think I would do well.
Is internal affairs one of those like you see on TV shows where like you walk down all and cops are like, oh, man,
you know, I'd like to say they don't. They are a little uncomfortable with my position. Not everybody.
So you make cops nervous. That's a little bit of a role reversal.
I don't want to say I make them nervous. They just aren't going to.
I mean, you make me nervous.
Talk to me and give me any extra information than what I'm needing or is necessary.
Yeah. So I wonder how many people out there realize how many different like divisions within our police department we have.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because they see certainly the patrol officers on the street, and that's quite a few of our people. But,
absolutely.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but you know, is it pretty common for police departments to have all these dedicated, you know, crimes against children and narcotics and you know different types of units, or is it
specialty?
Here in Pearland, we specialize. Not all agencies do that, and it really depends on your manpower if you're able to specialize like that. We do that because we like our detectives to have a specialty and to be extremely knowledgeable about their specific specialty. So at the time, it was me and Cecil Arnold that worked crimes against children, and we were a great team. I think they have a great team now, but my opinion is that you should specialize, but that's not always an option for smaller agencies.
So how did you choose Pearland?
I grew up in Lower Brazoria County, so I grew up in Freeport, and I went to Brazosport College, and one of the Brazoria County deputies was the instructor, and his message was pretty much Pearland is a place to be. That's where you'll make the most money here in Brazoria County. It's hard to get on Pearland. They may have 200 people that apply and they may hire 2, but that's a place to go. And I was 24 and I thought, well, why not? I'm swinging for the fence. I'm going to go apply. Yeah. And so I only applied once and I made it off that list. Do you remember how many people
were in your application pool?
Oh man. I would say close to 60 maybe at the time.
For how many
roughly
spots?
I think we hired 4.
Yeah.
From my
still really
that's impressive because what are we averaging like now?
I
feel like it's in the 200s.
Now we may have anywhere upwards of 200 that sign up, and I want to say it's closer to 250.
Right.
But then that show up is usually somewhere around 100.
That's crazy.
And it's a process. I mean, it's a whole thing.
It's a long process. Because like I applied in November and I didn't get a call back until middle of February or so. And I started in March.
You got here, so you said what, 20-ish years? You got here in 2000?
2002.
2002. So right at the beginning of that massive growth trajectory,
Exactly.
right
That's
before
when
Shadow Creek.
We started building up. Yeah, right after I started working for Pearland. When I did start working for Pearland, there was nothing west of 288.
Right.
So all that growth has come within the last 20 years.
So what was it? How do you think that shaped your experience as a patrol officer, especially? I mean, I guess you wouldn't have known any difference one way or the other, but I think that had an impact.
I always worked this east side of town, and I preferred the east side of town. I was utilized best on this side of town because we have the flea market on North Main, and there's a lot of bilingual. There's a necessity for a bilingual officer on this side of town. So,
and you're fluent.
I'm fluent in Spanish as well.
Yeah.
So, and I lived on this side of town, so this is the side of town I always work.
I wonder if you ever pulled me over.
I don't think so, but maybe,
maybe,
because I was busy.
Let's cut that part out.
I stayed busy.
Could have been.
Every time I look at cops now, I'm like,
yeah.
But you would remember because it's funny because back then Jennifer Lopez had made a movie where she was a Chicago officer, and at least twice a day, somebody would say, has anybody ever told you look like Jennifer Lopez? Or anybody ever told you look like J-Lo? And I would just say, no, I've never heard that. And move on, right? Because I don't want to entertain the conversation too much.
Yep.
So going back to the beginning, what motivated you? I mean, I feel like being a police officer is a pretty specific calling. Is it something you always wanted to do, or is it?
I think it was a position that I always respected. I didn't think that I would be able to be a police officer. I had never seen a police officer my size. I'm 5'2", and growing up, I was about 115 pounds. I might have been 120 pounds when I started working here, but I had never seen a female officer my size. I was working at Academy, and this was probably right at the end of high school sometime. And a female officer walked in. She was a state trooper, and she walked in and she took off her hat, and I was just floored. I'd never seen a female officer that was my size. She was of small stature. She might have been an inch or two taller than me, but she was still small framed, and I had never seen any. I didn't know that was possible. So from then on out, I thought, well, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And so fast forward a few months, I started working at a car wash there local in Lake Jackson. And the state troopers used to come through a couple times a week, wash their cruisers. And I got to talking to Randy Jones, which he was some type of supervisor. I don't know what their chain of command is. But he had told me, just go to school and get your 60 hours and come back and see me. And so I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a state trooper. And so I initially went to school to be a state trooper, and here I am.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
My dad always wanted to be a game warden, which I always thought was like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
You always hear the stories like they don't even need search warrants.
They just
do whatever they want.
Right.
But state trooper, that's one of those kind of. I mean, you always know them when they're there for sure.
Right. Yeah.
So what made you change from state trooper to local police department? What do you think the difference is for you? I mean,
a state trooper would have ran traffic predominantly.
And you've done sort of all sorts of
right. And then looking at it from a young age, I'm looking at the money aspect, and starting here at Pearland, it wasn't a big money difference.
Right.
Yeah.
So I came to work for Pearland, and I've been happy ever since.
Was the public safety building that wasn't around yet, right?
No,
at that time?
Our police
PSB?
station, no.
Yeah, right.
We built that in 2006.
Okay. That's right. Yeah.
7.
I grew up right around over there in Cullen. I remember when that popped up. It felt like overnight, but it feels like yesterday, but it's 15 years now. Jeez, more than that.
Yeah. So what was it like when you first started here? You were at the old fire. I mean, what's now the fire admin building, right?
Right.
And so you just start from there, and all shifts start from that location and go out from there.
We used to have a roll call every day. You'd show up for roll call. I worked day shift, which was 6 to 2. So at 6 o'clock, we'd go and check out your equipment. They let you know what kind of calls went out the night before, so you'd kind of be up to speed on what had happened, anything that would carry over into that day. They don't really do that anymore. They just begin their shifts from their vehicles when they leave their homes.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 20 years, that wildly different in terms of the equipment we have,
exactly.
we have, the technology we have.
Well, just the staffing too. I mean, the
Yeah.
department's
and exactly the staffing.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, we're somewhere in around 190 something officers.
Jeez.
No,
I really don't have an accurate number because it keeps growing.
Right.
But we're somewhere shy of 200.
Well,
talking about the future of the department, talk a little bit about the police academy that's coming in and how that's kind of changing the game with the new building that they're going to have right there next to the PSB and all that kind of stuff.
We started our police academy last year, so we have our own academy where we're training our own officers. Now we've opened it up to other agencies, and we're a full class this year.
How many people?
Yeah, how many?
I know that I couldn't tell you that. I wasn't prepared to answer that. If you would have given me some direction on this interview, I would have had those numbers for you. But I know that we have all the surrounding agencies have jumped on board to come to our academy.
That's awesome.
And we're at capacity at this point. We can take no more.
I do wonder, not that we should compare ourselves to other organizations, but it's, a habit that I have of like, well, how do we stack up, and it seems like, throughout the organization, generally speaking, but especially in the police department, we, attract and retain the sort of cream of the crop. You know what I mean? Like everybody that I interact with over there is committed to their job, very talented, and kind of makes this whole experience something special.
Exactly.
It seems to me that it makes Pearland PD an attractive place as a professional organization.
We screen and we look for the best of the best. That's what we're doing for our citizens, for our department. People that are open-minded, preferably that are experienced. That's not always the case because we have some young people who just graduated from the academy, and we just look for the best that we can. But I will say I worked internal affairs. We don't have any major issues that I've ever worked. Sometimes people mess up just because they get in a hurry or for other reasons, but I don't think that our officers, to me, are second to none.
Yeah. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, could you see yourself going anywhere else? Or I mean, is like you're going to retire from? I'm
definitely going to retire here. Yeah. I enjoy Pearland. I raised my family here. So I'm happy with the school system. Yeah. So my kids will graduate from Pearland and will continue to live here.
You gonna be the chief one day, or
it's not in my career plan right now, but
chief
the chief also, that's gonna good ring to it.
Yeah. What is it? You dress for the position you want. And so I'm gonna keep dressing nice, and who knows where I might end up.
So I dress like a clown.
Is that why you do your hair like that?
Yeah. I just want to be one of the Beatles or Jim Morrison.
I thought you were going for the pirate direction. Yeah.
I want to be Jack Sparrow.
But that hasn't been in my goals so far. Yeah.
So you've had a number of different positions, different varying lengths of time. How often do you think about that? Like, do you typically set like, okay, next 5 years I want to be doing this, or is it you just kind of take it position at a time? Or
I don't have a 5-year plan right now. I would think of where I would go from here. Do I want to stay here? Will I retire here? So far, I'll be here for a while because I don't see any other position that looks like I would be interested in.
Yeah. And we haven't had the opportunity yet of working in emergency activation. Certainly that's one of the primary responsibilities of public information officers. And again, for those watching or listening, we have a full, team, both day shift, night shift, 24-hour rotation of varying skill sets that we put in a joint information center to make sure the community is informed and that our employees are informed and things like that. So I hope you're looking forward to that because we have so much fun.
Yeah. Make sure you're on day shift though.
Yeah.
I would come and hang out with you guys before.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You would pop
I
in.
would come through. I'd make sure Kathleen was fed.
You helped us with some translation services stuff.
Yeah, I would come through and make sure you guys are doing all right because we always have so much food, and we take care of our officers. So I want to make sure you guys are taken care of too.
We're usually pretty good until like day 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And, people start getting tired.
It starts off like a really
the
fun.
fatigue starts setting in.
Yeah.
It starts off as like a little cool hangout with all the people that you don't usually get to work with, and then by day 5 you're like, it's tough.
Struggling.
Yeah.
The
Everybody's
winter storm was the one that was like, oh, we might need a few more people in here because it's starting to. My hair's going a little more crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that we've been fortunate to have a good battle rhythm, and complementary skill sets within those roles. So, as a PD PIO, what's your long-term vision for department communications and emergency response? What are you gonna do?
It's a hard question.
That is a tough question.
I like hard questions.
She just said she didn't have a 5-year plan, and then you're gonna.
What is
this is not a 5-year.
It feels like
a
my long-term PIO. I want to be able to put more information out, more informative videos, more informative posts, just to keep all of our, I don't want to say followers, but I guess followers, our Facebook followers, abreast with different safety tips and just different movement of our city. So as far as our department is, we do so much in the community, but people don't know it until I put that on our Facebook page. So I want to be able to show the community all the things that we do, which is well beyond just pulling over cars and writing tickets.
Sure.
Our officers are great. We have different divisions, and I want to be able to showcase not just our officers, but the divisions that aren't on social media as much.
Yeah.
I love that because at outward perspective, you don't know all the things that are happening to make the,
As far as canines, everyone has seen Flash and they know Flash.
Right.
Well, we have several canines.
Yeah.
I think we have 7. So that's just an example as far as, if I don't take pictures and I don't put that on Facebook, people don't really see it.
Yeah.
So I want people to be aware.
And that's the thing that, an observation that we sort of had, and it's, PD as well as other areas of the city, but it's really hard to get people's attention and to get them to pay attention to all of the things, right? Because we do so many different things and they're all so incredibly important. And I think more than that, right? And sort of the reason for something like this is there are people doing all those things, and the people, you and me and all of the dispatchers and records retention and administrative support. Yeah. Everybody, right. They get up every day for this community to make a difference, and I mean, that shouldn't go unnoticed for sure.
Exactly. And do a great job.
Yeah.
So I just want them to be noticed.
Yep.
And for other people to see their work the way we see their work.
It's almost annoying to me how committed everybody that I work with is committed to their own job. Yeah. And I mean, the officers, every time I walk through the halls in the police department, it's inspiring and it's really hard to keep up because there's just so much,
growth,
commitment there. Well, and growth, right? And so many smart people. I mean, the drone program that we have, the academy that we have, the employee wellness that we do, the exercise, the all the different, all of the things.
We have a license and weight division.
Are you
People
what?
may not notice the license and weight that weighs the large vehicles.
Oh, the truck.
Yeah. That's the commercial.
The commercial vehicles to make sure that the dump trucks aren't overweight. And
which impacts our streets and
exactly.
Yep. Yeah, it's really difficult to stitch all of those things together. I mean, it's probably an impossible task, but it's easy to connect the dots between we have people doing things and the impact that it has in the community, right?
Right.
And being able to articulate that is sort of our job, right?
Right, exactly.
It's the thing that we do.
Mhm.
So why do you get up every day? What's your motivation?
This is his famous question. What's your why? That's good.
What
This is
my-
good. That's how
is
we're
my
going to end every single
Yeah,
podcast
yeah,
episode. There you
Why?
go. What?
I enjoy my job, just showing up and interacting with the people that I work with. Aside from what I do for a living, as far as taking pictures and going to meetings, and what my position consists of, but just going to work and interacting with my coworkers is a great day. Everyone has jokes. Everyone's usually happy to see me now, a little more than what they used to. But most of all, to provide for my kids,
Yeah.
and to make their childhood magical.
In Pearland, where they'll grow
In
up.
Pearland.
That's right.
We'll circle back around.
So they
Yes.
too can be people of Pearland.
Right.
How about
People,
that?
we'll interview them 20 years from now.
That's right.
When I'm old and decrepit.
You'll still be here.
Probably.
You probably will.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine that I'm going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Anything else you want us to talk about or know? Or
Yeah. Where can people? What are people searching to follow y'all on
Yeah.
Facebook
that's a good idea.
or Twitter and all that?
cityofpearland.gov.
Cool.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
cityofpearland.com.
Not even. No. Even further from
Ooh,
.com.
Cut that out. Cut that out.
We have a
put the title
Pearland
right
PD.
here. Put the title right there.
Man,
You're just
killing me.
making
Did you
stuff
say
up
dot
now.
org?
Killing me. Pearland
Oh,
PD.
man.
.biz. Pearland
Cut.
TX.gov. We have a .gov
Just like
top
my
level
email
domain.
address.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Pearland
Yes,
TX.
just like your email address.
Okay, got it. PearlandTX.gov. That's where people
And
find us.
what are the P? I don't know the PD handles. Pearland at Pearland PD.
Stop.
Oh no.
Pearland PD. I think that's right.
We'll just.
Yep,
I can
Pearland
look
PD.
it up. We'll put it up on the screen.
There you go.
You're making me sweat.
Put it
We're
in
gonna
the-
stop guessing. We'll just put the graphic right here.
Start asking me about email.
That's awesome.
Well, Officer Meredith Jaso, thank you for joining us in our first ever inaugural People
Thank
of
you for having
Pearland
me.
Yes.
People podcast.
Hopefully it wasn't too painful.
No, it hasn't been too bad. Just except when you asked me about stats. Numbers.
We'll omit all of that.
Yeah. Right. Awesome.
All right. Well, you have a good rest of your day telling all the Pearland people about the Pearland Police Department. And I was going to have another. Yeah, it's gone now. It's gone.
All right. Y'all have a good one.